computer's running really slow right now because I have a bunch of programs loaded, so it's going to take me a second to.
Carissa, that's Adam. Adam, Carissa.
Hi, Carissa.
Hi, hey Adam.
Yeah.
How you doing,
Thanks
Ed?
for joining.
Hey Ed, can I suggest go behind you and turn off the light?
Oh, that was really crazy. As soon as you started talking, it made you the main screen.
That's the way it goes. The whole thing is interactive. It's amazing, and you'll see.
So it like can detect who's talking and put that person on the main screen.
Correct.
Oh, living in the future.
Can you, Ed? Can you turn off the light behind your head in your kitchen?
Yes.
On your left-hand side. That one. Oh, the other one.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Oh,
That's
that
fine.
one?
That's fine.
Okay.
And then maybe the one in the hallway too.
Both of them?
That's
Yeah.
better. No, that's fine. That's the one.
We're going to try a couple different.
Nice cats.
Hi, Ed.
Yeah.
Did you have your? Oh yeah, look at that. We've got the bearded crew here.
No, cats.
Oh,
Cats. No.
Who's? I don't see a cat.
On his t-shirt.
Oh, nice.
Let's see yours.
My shirt?
Yeah, there's something, looks like a big fluffy, what is it?
Bernie.
Bernie?
No, it's not Bernie. That's not Bernie.
It looks like Bernie.
It's Jerry Garcia.
All right, that's close.
Nice.
All right, so hang on. We need Oren and Josh. Can you text them, make sure they know they have the link?
No, I do, I'm sure. I know that Jess confirmed.
This is recording. That's a little weird.
No, well, I'll explain to you why I'm recording. It's part of
Okay.
I'll ask for consent from all parties. I just want to do something. Let me share my screen for a second. I want to make sure everybody sees it. So hang on 1 second. Just 1 second, and then I'll turn it off. Tell me if you see the my screen.
I do. Can you scroll down a little bit so I can see the house?
Yeah, but
I think I saw the. Do you know which house it is? There's like 4 houses in that picture.
Ed, chill. We're gonna go. This is the purpose of this conversation. We'll get there.
I mean, you're showing a picture.
God, man.
Ben has been working on this for hours. So
I'm telling you, we are set.
Presentation for everybody. It's gonna take you through the presentation. It's all got all the details, all the information. Think cherries.
Cherries?
What?
Oh, spoiler alert.
So Carissa, you're gonna be exposed to 4 animals, all with very different characteristics, and part of the game is managing the range that goes from.
Wait, you're not putting my children animals.
Okay, the 4
Charming
sets of participants, which range from extremely inquisitive, I want to know everything, nah, to extremely chill, like, hey man, whatever. So,
Ben, it's what? It's 9 in the
Adam is the
morning over there. Are you already stoned?
I'm not stoned.
No, he wishes. We just finished our herb last night.
I remind you that this is recording.
So?
Thank you.
So,
Adam, we've been
You look good though, Ben.
thank you.
Gracias.
What's that?
By the way,
Nice.
How do you like his threads? Hang on, go closer.
Wait,
Just
man,
have
you
that
don't need to
shirt
go
made.
closer.
Very nice.
So I'm taking orders if anybody wants. I just need dimension.
Do you know if are you going to that same lady as before? Because she might still have my dimensions. I don't know if she keeps dimension notes from the past 5 years, but
Yeah, did we go into the market with you?
yeah, but that was like 5 years ago.
No, but I'm asking you which shop we went to where you had your shirt made. Was it the one
I don't know the name of the shop, but I remember there was like a lady that you guys would always go to.
Covered Market, right? In the Covered Market.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'll ask her. Oh, the
What are the
first thing
chances?
she asked me is, how's Adam?
What?
When we went
How's
to
that
make
possible?
our cushions, the first thing she said is, how's Adam?
All right,
Wow.
hang on, guys, 1 second. Can Pete? Oh, here we
Yeah.
go. We got Oren. Can you wake up Josh? Hey, Or.
He'll be there. Your face is cut
Hey, Oren. Okay, video.
Ed, can you send a text to Josh?
Let's say hi to Thurgood first.
Oh, Thurgood.
Wow.
He's still kicking it. How old is he now?
I don't know. He's got to be like 13, 14.
Yeah.
15,
Wow.
Yeah.
That's healthy.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Let's see him again. Oh.
Hi, Thurgood. Meow. Where's your kitty, Ez? Didn't you have a cat?
No kitty.
Oh, I thought you had one.
That'd be nice.
Just shirt kitties.
Yeah, I just got him on my shirt.
You can always go to the shelter and get one.
Yeah.
Look at his tail.
The tail.
Aww.
Hey, Oren, we need to see your video and we need to hear your voice.
Hang on, he's never used Zoom before.
Hey. No es mi problema.
Really?
Okay.
And Adam was early, let it be noted.
Yes.
What? He is. Adam's texting him. It's my, I don't know if you'll see it on WhatsApp. But I can come.
I mean,
Make progress.
Hey, Oren, you're coming up. Here we go. We need more light, Oren.
Very dark.
No, like much better. Can you turn like the full light on?
What do you live in a cave or something? Look like
You're not supposed to take.
Mom, good roast. Good roast.
good drugs.
Oren, what's going on?
I'm dead.
You look like when they caught Saddam.
Where's Jess?
I'm here.
Where are you? Hey guys, it's 9
Are
o'clock.
you gonna like wipe your camera screen?
Adam. Letting it rip.
So she's listening.
What's up with your camera? Why is it so bad quality?
I don't know. Maybe the lights. This is the good light. I don't want to turn the strong one on.
Hi, Or. Hi, Jess.
Hello.
Hello.
Are we keeping you up?
No,
Okay.
just hanging out.
Okay, and we finally have Josh coming on.
Oren, meet and Jess, meet Carissa. Carissa, Oren and Jess.
How do you know when the video changes?
It changes automatically per the voice. When you speak, it picks up and then it projects you.
But I don't see Ezra.
You don't?
Ezra, say something.
Speak.
Hey. What's going on?
Just waiting for Jack. Oh, there
How's
it is.
this work? Hey, Jess. How are you? Great. I haven't done this Zoom call with this many people ever, so not sure how it flips.
Well, let's start by putting the video on. That will help.
Oh, we don't have the video on?
Not yet.
Oh.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Here we
Guys.
go. Hi, everybody.
Oh, hi.
Okay, we got one dog and one cat. Jess, do you have a cat to match? We're playing domino.
Yeah, but the cat's upstairs.
I don't know where he is.
Okay, guys. So we're gonna run this.
Hi, Adam.
Hey, I lost my screen. Hold on. Hey, there you are. Hey guys,
Everybody, this is
nice
so
painting.
Thank you.
Nice pup too. Can I see the painting? Whoa. Ooh, who did that?
Sam Flores.
Classic Sam Flores.
It is.
Nice.
All right, guys. So let's kick it off. Let's do this. I've worked pretty hard to put a bunch of data together so we can have one conversation. I know that some of you are going to have lots of questions, and I invite all questions along the way. This is meant to be interactive. But as you ask questions that have to do with stuff that I already have set up, I'll tell you, yep, I'll get to it. You'll see that there's a sign that says recording. One of the features of Zoom is that it records all conversations, and I'll explain to you why this is recording by the time we get to the end, when we talk about roles and responsibilities, depending on whether you guys want to go forward with the project. So I'm going to show you both the good and the ugly, and we're going to go through this whole thing. I'm going to share screens. Just to give you a sense, I want to just double check for a second that you can see the screen. So hang on, bear with me. I've lost my Zoom. Here we go. Hang on, hang on. I just want to double check with everybody that you can see this. Can you see?
Wow.
We got
Project Pasta.
Okay, so Project Pasta. So we're going to go through the house, the neighborhood, the region. We're going to talk about the terms of the deal, the risks and responsibilities. So this is probably going to take an hour. So thanks everybody for hanging in there. But before we do that, we have a new player around the table, which is Carissa. So I'd like everybody, forgive the formality, you know that I tend to be on the formal side, but let's just take 2 minutes, go around the virtual table.
Just introduce
Introduce yourself, say where you are, what you're doing, so that Carissa knows who the hell she's talking with.
And Carissa, you too. So Josh, why don't you start?
Hey, Carissa. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet everyone.
That's Josh.
Yeah, we are in Grass Valley, California. This is Ana Jimenez Kimball.
Hi.
Hi. Oh wait, you guys.
We can't
My
see you
better
guys.
half.
Not sure
We
how
can't
to
see you right now, but we assume that
Maybe
you're
you
there.
can see us.
Oh, wait.
Does it go to each person based on who's speaking?
So if you look at the strip of people, there's an arrow at the bottom, and if you click the down arrow, we had to do that to see you because it only shows you 4 at a time.
There's like a lot of different potential settings that you can be in too.
True.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I need to reverse myself a little bit.
First time doing a Zoom with this many people. So
If you see
it's a little
the-
learning curve.
where the video is at, there's at the very top toolbar, there's these different icons you can click, and one of them is 4 squares. So if you click the 4 squares.
Yeah, no, we're just on the browser right now.
Oh, we're doing the browser.
Yeah, so maybe we need to get the app.
Not sure.
Yeah. Hey.
All good. Well, we can hear you and we can see you.
Go.
Cool.
I lost them.
Oh,
Oh,
there
there
they
we
are.
are.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Do you not have the app?
On the side.
Hey.
Cool. So yeah, we are in Portland, Oregon right now. I actually grew up not too far from Grass Valley, California. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, my
Wow.
family lived on the Yuba River for about 150 years. So
Wow.
yeah.
It's a original gold miner
Yep.
status there.
Old gold miner. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Sweet.
yeah.
We were just at the U yesterday.
Oh, wonderful. Oh man.
Yeah. So nice.
Yeah.
Super
Hopefully I
nice
can
river
take
day.
it down in the next couple months. So. I'll be
You
able
might.
to-
Would you say you might come down in the next couple months?
Yeah. I try to avoid the area when it's really hot.
Yeah, it's really hot right now.
Yeah,
Really
I
hot.
try to come back down to Sacramento, and then my folks that live out in Newcastle, the falls.
Oh,
Nice.
sweet. That's close.
Can come visit you guys too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we also were planning on maybe going to Sierra Hot Springs up there. So.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, Sandzer-Bell.
Yep.
Nice.
Oh.
Nice. Also really like Wilbur and Orr if you're looking for any new ones too.
Oh, fun. Awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, let's go back to the purpose of this. So Josh and Anna, just give them a sense of what it is you do there.
Questions?
Yeah, I think part of what we want to do, as you'll see, the project is going to require everybody's talent and skills. So for this quick intro, I'd like you guys to point out where you are, but also what kind of stuff do you do? So that'll become useful as part of this conversation. So Josh and Anna, do you want to close the loop on that?
Well, sure. I can start. Definitely can be involved in a lot of the communication piece of things. I don't have that much experience with like building related vocabulary, but
Stop. Sorry, I'll be a pain in the ass. I'll just stick to the plan. Tell
Okay.
us, never mind what you're gonna do the project, because we'll get to that at the end. Talk about
Okay.
what are you doing? What are you doing now? What's the background that you have before we get into this?
Oh, my background is all in, well, an international upbringing and background in language and communication and building bridges with people.
Good. Josh.
Josh.
Event production and marketing promotions.
Okay. Oren.
You can be our-
Oren, yes, can you guys pipe up?
Both in real estate in Chicago. Both live in Chicago. Jess was just in Italy. Her mother's Italian. And go back soon.
You do.
All right,
Sweet.
we missed the beginning because he was on mute. Oren is in real estate related stuff, which will become useful for the project.
Or
Okay.
an Jess, both in real estate stuff.
Yeah, they're both in real estate.
Have experience doing real estate stuff at least.
Correct. Adam, your move.
I'm Adam. I'm also living in Chicago, south side of Chicago. And my background is in cooking. I cooked in restaurants for several years. And now I started a little farm, an urban farm. And we sell our produce, like we do like specialty produce that we sell to chefs all around Chicago.
Okay. And Ezra, do you want to close the loop with you guys?
Sure. Well, it's just funny because closed loop farms. Like I don't know if the pun was intentional there, but we've been checking out your Instagram, which looks really good, Adam. And then also I was showing Carissa Euphonic Conceptions because she's pretty plugged into the festival scene down in California as well. So like she's kind of seen everybody's profile a little bit already. So that's nice. She's had that introduction. I'm doing right now. I'm doing customer success at a software company, and then also doing a lot of B2B marketing stuff. So probably transfers over also into like online digital marketing of some kind.
Okay, good.
Carissa.
I'm doing graphic design, motion design, and video editing. So.
We got a dream team over here.
So
Yeah.
keep all these profiles in mind, because the end of this conversation, if you're still hanging in there and if you still all want to play with this project, you'll see how all these skill sets come in perfectly for parts of what I'm thinking we're going to do. So with that, what I want to do is let me share the screen. Oh, it is shared. Okay, are you looking at the thing that says Project Pasta?
Yes.
Okay, right, cool. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to walk you through the house, the neighborhood, the region, just so that we all sort of level set on what it is we're looking at. And then the most important conversation is going to be around the terms, the risks, and the responsibilities if you want to do that. I tend to be, I'm going to, you know, Peter is going to err on the side of, oh, this is a family get together. And I'm going to err on the side of, fuck that, this is a project management. So just bear with the, you know, with the range of ways of dealing with this.
That's great.
By the way, I'll add, because also for my own introduction, that what I do every day is this kind of stuff. Taking a team, multiple locations, working together towards some kind of a complex end state. So that's in my wheelhouse. That doesn't mean the project is going to be easy. It just means that I know what it's going to take to bring this to conclusion if we want to do that. All right. So I'll restate, this is interactive. So as we go through the pictures and whatnot, pipe in if you have any questions. We're going to start with the house. Can everybody see this?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
beautiful.
So
Which
let
house
me,
is it?
let me just point out, and then I'll pause with every picture. Our house does not include this. Do you all see my arrow?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, does not include this. The house starts here. It,
Woo, 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 woo.
it starts here. Adam.
Looking good. Looking good.
Where's the house
Number
at?
one, continues here, number 2, and as I'll show you afterwards, as a little number 3. So it's a pretty...
It's a sizable house.
It's a sizable house. Let me try to zoom in. You see this? You see a balcony here, lots of vegetation growing. And as you...
It's so cool.
What?
Repeat?
I said it's so beautiful.
It's pretty cool.
I knew you'd like it.
So I'll point out things that I see and then we'll pause. You see that there is a fair amount of vegetation up there near the roof. So who knows what we're going to find underneath. What I like is that if you see the sun here, there's obviously, even though there's a house on this side, it seems open to the sunshine.
Sun hits the second floor.
You're doing what your sun doesn't help, right? Okay. So, all right, so that's one part. Anybody has any question on that?
Yeah,
Okay.
so so Ben, go up for a second.
Yep.
You're saying it's this first one with the vegetation and then the next 2 in succession as well?
Correct.
Show with your mouth.
So 1,
Next 2.
2, 2, and then there's a little piece out there which I'm going to show you in a second.
Okay.
So keep your eyes on this road because it's going to be part of the conversation which is going to be critical. Okay, this is the plan. Now check this out. What we saw where the vegetation was is right here. And then there's the second house, which is more like a non-stone white. And then there's this third piece that you didn't see. You see that the shape is very odd. And most interestingly, there's a street, which is what we just saw right here walking down. But there's a street on the other side. I don't know if we have an exit here or not, but it is kind of interesting that we straddle 2 streets.
And 3, there's a little alleyway.
Like, you have a compass like that goes along with this picture?
Don't have a compass, but Peter and I spent, I swear, at least an hour trying to figure it out, and I'm going to show you where it is in the village, so just bear with me.
You can see though how big it is in comparison to all the other little houses around.
Yeah, it looks huge.
Yeah, because that's the one, Ben chose the biggest one and requested that one.
I'll explain that when we get to the term. Okay, keep your eyes on this little blue square here, because this is critical.
Okay.
See this little thing here? That little thing is this little thing.
Wow.
Okay, so go back one more time. You see how it extends here, even though it gets narrow here?
Good spotting, good spotting.
Okay, so our house is number 1, where the orange or red stuff is, where the arch was. This piece, and now this is the third piece, which also has a little door.
Wow. Multiple units.
Exactly.
Does that look like it's like just a walking street, right? Or
Yes.
This is a walking street.
oh, that's so cool.
No cars allowed.
Look at that! Look at that view.
Seriously, imagine the view from the top.
Yeah.
You don't have to imagine because we have the pictures. But I want to point out a couple more things. Somebody asked about electricity or water. So here, I don't know if you can see it, there is access to the groundwater system.
And we won't have a Nicaragua situation of a flooded street because there's somewhere for the water to go.
Mm-hmm.
The second part is you see here, there's the electricity wire. So there's electricity going in there.
And a drain from the roof.
And you have a street light. So there's no question. Sorry?
Is that a guarantee of electricity?
Nothing is guaranteed. And if there's electricity, we may find that the meter is for, 3 light bulbs. So in our modern reality of everybody has a computer and we're doing 4G, 5G, 6G, right? Surely there's going to be all sorts of issues about access to power and whatnot. But we're not starting from a no electricity, no water. Okay. So summary, it's 2 stories. It says 87 square meters, which is 870 square feet. It looks bigger than that to me, but I don't know what they counted.
Yeah, that seems pretty small for the amount of square footage. Maybe that's just one of the floors. Maybe when they're counting, sometimes they look like square footage if it's not like fully finished.
Exactly.
Or maybe you can set some light on this. But sometimes they don't include that in the square footage of a house. If it's like if it's like an unfinished garage or something.
Yeah, it could be very well.
Could be. It seems like bigger than that.
It sure does, because I mean, if this was 80 square with the 2 floors, I mean, these would be nothing, right? So I think, let me just point out that I don't want to get stupid about this, but when I responded to the application, there were 14 houses available, and the bid I made was for this and this little one here. And they chose, which is this one here. So we don't know if they awarded this to somebody else, and you know, we're already going to have enough of a headache to do this one if we decide to do it. But it's interesting to note that this one is also available. Okay, let's get back on track. Any questions so far on this?
No.
No.
Okay, so let's talk about the town.
Wow. Wow. That's insane. That's so cool.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So it's very compact, as you can see, but it's 360-degree agrarian land.
Mm.
So follow me here. I'm coming here. Via Orti is right here. Our street is this tiny one here. So one thing right next to Convento San Francisco.
No way. That is too good.
San Francesco.
Yeah. So
Oh, Francesco, but still.
Yeah. No, but yeah, it's the same name.
Well, Fran, do you want to share for those that aren't aware the significance?
you do ahead. Go ahead.
Well, our house in Granada, Nicaragua was right next to the Convento San Francisco, like a block away.
Wow. That's crazy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's zoom in a little bit. Do you remember that funny shape right here? Keep this funny shape in mind.
It almost looks like a
It
boot.
almost like, right? That shape in mind. And now let's look at this. It's this house. It's this package right here.
Zoom in.
Zoom in. Here we go. See this funny shape? That's our house
Well, part of
package.
it.
So we have 1, 2, and 3. And I'm not sure what this could also be part of it.
Maybe that's a package.
It definitely is part of it, right? Because it goes all the way to the street behind it.
Correct, correct. So it's one. It's
you're
like
right.
it's like something like this. So it's a big ass house.
So from this, we could probably tell north, south, east, west, right?
Yeah, maybe.
We'll get back to you on that.
What do you mean? I mean, this is like Google Maps. How could that not be something that you would see?
You're right.
Okay, well, hang on. Is there a? I don't see where it is.
It's not on this. It's not on this like screenshot that you took. But if you went back to where you got it from, you would be able to find it.
Okay, so the link to Google Map is down. I'm going to forward after this phone call. I'll forward the Word document, and then you guys can play around with it and see all you need to see. Okay, just to point out, see how close we are to the Convento right here.
And look at this. Yep.
Okay, so here, pay attention to this. You see this space right here?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, just keep your eyes on that because, okay, here we go. Sorry, one more time. This is again showing the same space, different, moved it around. So this is same thing. Keep your eyes on this stuff.
Well, you can see it now clearer. Yeah.
This is what it is.
In front of it.
Wow. Olive orchard.
Yeah.
Olives? You can tell from that picture that they're olives?
Yes.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Good eye.
We know an olive
Olives.
tree when we see it.
Especially John.
Nice.
Okay.
We love
For sure, olive. Yeah.
Okay.
That's cool in the town. Probably the best olive oil.
Correct.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so same building, twisted around. I wanted to show you the view from here. So
Wow.
our house is here. We bump into this one directly in front, but we walk like 3 meters, and poof, you've got this amazing view.
And maybe from the rooftop of our house, there'll be that view, obviously.
Yeah.
Hard to tell.
Rooftop.
Okay, any questions on this? Okay, so let's take a walk in the neighborhood. This is with the back to the olive tree, to the olive, the little parcel with the olive trees.
Wow.
Is that
Gorgeous.
How do you like the view?
Stunning.
So gorgeous.
Friend, Jess, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep going. So I just took a couple of shots going on Google Map and so on, just to give you a feel.
The neighborhood.
Yeah, the neighborhood. You can see that kind of beautiful. You have a combination of whitewashed and stones.
Mm-hmm.
Those are probably
Beautiful.
more.
Yeah, that looks good.
In the town itself, it's pretty compact, right? So the not much trees inside. It's all one compact little village, and then of course the view around. All right, if you guys want to, here's a link you can look at afterwards. Lots of interesting information on that.
Where do we access this report?
We are so
like-
far.
I need to see it.
So we are in chapter 2, which is the town. Bear with me.
No, but you said that I could click the link, but I don't have this report.
I'll send it to you afterwards. So most importantly, we know where to have cappuccino, which is here.
Wow.
So there's
That's beautiful.
There's a little park, and then this these chairs tell me we can have cappuccino, so we're safe. For those who know me, you know that I'm not a happy camper if there's no cappuccino. Okay. This here is going to be the link you're going to have. You can Google map your way through it and all that stuff.
So Viaorti 83030 is the address.
Not really, but it's the closest place to where the Google Map, video cam thing went to.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I want to show you something interesting about statistics. Just bear with me for a second. So
The town of Zimbabwe.
this is about Zingoli. This is statistics about the place, and I wanted to show you this. Sorry, here we go. So in 1991, there were 1,500 inhabitants. In 2001, there were 1,400. In 2011, there were 1,200. And so between 1991 and 2011, they lost 25% of their population. Right? That's a big deal. That explains why they're doing what they're doing. They have a severe depopulation problem, and that's why the mayor's office is trying to bring new lifeblood into the community.
Do you know any reason why they're having this problem?
It's happening everywhere in Italy, Portugal, France. It's an agriculture population, and the younger people don't want to work in agriculture because it's hard work, and they prefer to go to the city and get jobs in IT. Yeah, I mean the short version, right? Naples, which is one of the largest industrial centers in Italy, is only 2 hours away. So why the fuck should they work with olive groves when they can go and work and do triple the salary? So this is a problem throughout, and this project of doing €1 houses is something that's been going on for at least 10 years, and it's been going successfully. So this is not a scam. This is a project that mayors are taking to because they're seeing that it works. Okay.
Is it closed on the town that we got it?
Say again?
Like, are they still taking applications from other people? Or is like the application period closed now?
I don't know. There was a deadline you had to submit. What I've read about other similar projects, hang on, let me see, go back.
So the deadline has passed for this town?
Correct. But who knows? They might get another lot of 20 houses and then do it again 2 years from now. Okay. All right. Enough on the statistics?
Yeah.
Just to point out in terms of data about foreigners, they are, as of when they did this, 22 foreigners in the community.
Which is a lot for such a small place.
22 out of 1,000. Yeah.
More males than 18.
I found that interesting. 50 people out of the town have university degrees and 87 are illiterates. I thought that was interesting. Okay.
Oddly specific statistic.
The what?
Counting individual illiterate people. It's just,
Hey, listen.
Stupid time.
7 people are blind.
Ben, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Where else are they doing the same type of project?
Throughout Italy, there's at least 3 or 4 projects. Sardinia has done some. But the problem with these is that the number of people who apply is like 100 times the people who get selected, right? It's a big, you know.
So are you able to apply for more than one city?
Well, it's a city-based project, right? It's the community itself that manages it. So if you wanted to enter a competition,
Sorry, you have a big amount of people applying, but not all of them are selected to go for the project. So let's say there's 3 of the 3 projects for us to be able to apply in different other cities. So our chances are bigger if we apply for more than one project. Is that possible?
You already got it.
well, it has not.
You already applied and they already
Oh,
accepted.
okay.
Each project is different,
Independent.
but here's the deal. We've already won. The reason we're talking is because 3 months ago, actually when we were in Chicago, I think,
You told Oren.
I was writing this and Pete and Oren were going, yeah, Ben's doing his thing. But here we are, and we have been selected. Now, of course, lots of people like us have tried, and I'm sure some people have accepted, and then by the time they move into their house, they go, oh my God, this is way worse than I thought. The roof is crumbling. There's no water. There's no electricity. It's terrible. Blah, blah, blah. And they walk away and they back
maybe
out.
some become available.
What's important to understand is that this is like a lottery process, right? But it's not luck. They look at the application. And so in order to be successful, I put a package together where I put our best foot forward. And our best foot forward was to play with the system. And I'll show you what it means because I made some commitments in order to be selected. And some of these commitments, which got us selected, we're gonna now try to walk away from because they are too harsh. And we'll talk about this in a second. Okay, let's keep going with the town. So this is what happens when you get out of town. Okay, then there was a question. Sorry.
No. Keep going.
Okay, so there was a question about what's around. Here's what's around. Adam, this is for you.
Several wines.
Repeat.
Wow, that's very cool.
I was reading them all and said several wines. Thumbs up.
Jess. Jess.
Yeah.
Number 3.
What? What is it?
Read the 3rd one.
Oh, my favorite thing in the world, black truffle.
Exactly. So hazelnuts, chestnuts, black truffle, cherries, olive oil, and sear, and several wines. That means it's big time agricultural land, and we're gonna have to think about what this means. Now, what I'm seeing is that both Adam and Josh are off on their different track doing their own research to look at this stuff. Can you guys stay with me for a while? Because otherwise it's gonna be unmanageable.
We're here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just pretty sure the house is in the south part of town from my minor analysis on Google Maps.
Okay.
Keep going.
Okay. So let's go back to the region, and I want you guys to pay attention to this because this is interesting. One of the reactions I got was from Oren saying, oh, cool, look, it's an hour and a half from Naples and 2 hours from the Amalfi Coast. Yes, and this is an important point. We are at this dot right here, smack in the middle between Naples, Salerno, and so on, but equally close to Bari. Why is that important? Because while there's a lot of people and this is the cool, hip place to go, et cetera,
More tourism on
lot
that
of
side.
tourism here. On this side, equally close, is a completely different universe. And in particular, it is, if you see this yellow line, there's a ferry that goes to one of the most beautiful cities in all of Europe, which is Dubrovnik. So,
Wow.
they thought,
What country?
Croatia.
Croatia. So when you're here,
Albania. Adam, you can finally visit Albania.
Exactly.
How long is the ferry ride? Do you know roughly?
About an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Wow.
Okay.
so
Nothing.
when
And it's like an hour, so like an hour and a half by land, and another hour and a half by sea.
correct.
Yeah, so if you were doing a trip, you could go to Bari, spend a couple of days in Bari, take the ferry, go to Croatia, and then come back. And on the other side is Tunisia.
Well, I don't have it right south of. Well, I mean, I don't. I'm not. Hang on one second.
What you have it?
Yeah, I do, but I didn't want to make this one
Pull it
interactive.
up. It's
So if you go to the left, Naples and so on, you've got the you've got a bunch of little islands. But if you go on this side, you've got a whole side of Europe, which is super interesting.
Yes.
Okay. Then the last thing I wanted to point out is from where we are, the nearest big town, we're not talking about the big cities of Naples or Bari, we're talking about a town, but it's only 25 minutes away, which is Melfi. So here is Melfi.
25 minutes.
25 minutes.
That's where Dina and Mike just were, right?
what?
Repeat?
Weren't Dina and Mike just there on the Malfi coast?
No, they were on the Amalfi, Amalfi, which is
Classic, makes sense.
here.
Further.
So the Melfi is not the coast, it's in the center, but it's a beautiful, beautiful town. Check it out.
Nice place to go spend the day.
So this is
Wow.
Wow.
okay, we're in our little town, but we want to go have a nice dinner and so on and so forth. This is where we go play.
Che bello.
Bello.
Che bello.
Bello.
Super bello.
The big city.
The big city. Okay. Josh, I'm putting in there, I'd like you to look at it. There's a whole bunch of events, and it's broken down as they have events in the summer, in the spring, in the winter, and so on. Not too far, there is skiing events. Skiing. So just
Italian.
check it out. As you'll see, when we talk about action items and whatnot, check out the event situation because it's important to understand how they are currently organized. Okay. Bunch of different links here. So look at these when you receive it because I think it's worth getting educated. Okay. I think we've lost oranges. And okay. So let me pause here. This is all the how exciting stuff. Now we're going to get into the reality of what it will take. Let me pause here. Can I have a sort of a show of hands? It's like, who's checking out saying, fuck this, I'm not interested versus, yeah, this is fun. Let's talk about how to make it happen.
I want to hear some of the details.
Okay.
Okay.
Ezra.
I'm just following along.
Yeah, we're
Sounds good.
we're enjoying. Keep going.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about the terms. And what I did here is I picked up the first couple of comments I got from Josh and Oren. The first one from Josh. We'd love to know more specifics, parameters of renovation, reconstruction over the next 3 years. Okay. So let's be clear. The current commitment per the application process is to do this in 1 year. Why? Because they had a point system where you had to say, are you going to do it this way? You're going to do it that way. If you take 3 years, you get 1 point. If you do it in 1 year, you get 4 points. What I wanted to do is to get a seat at the table with the assumption that once we're at the table, we can work the system to our advantage. This may be a false assumption, but everything I do every day tells me that if we don't have a seat at the table, then we don't have a game, right? So right now, the commitment is to do things in 1 year, which is impossible. We're going to reshape it in person, talking to them how exciting, and I'll probably argue and say, oh my God, the house is in worse shape than I thought, it's bigger than I thought, it's gonna take longer to get the financing, blah, 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 blah. Look how cool we are, look at this group of, 5 groups of people, look at the talents we bring to the table, but fuck this, we can't do it in 1 year, we need 3 years. Maybe it will work, maybe it won't. Then there was a second question about specific parameters of the renovation reconstruction.
What do you mean, like they expect the house to be like what if you just do like a small piece of construction just to show that you're starting? I mean, what's the parameter for like how much has to be done?
Exactly. It's not spelled out. This is why I'm thinking this is going to be a negotiated, it may be 1 room is done, but not the other 7 rooms. It may be we fix the roof and the plumbing, but we're not ready to move in. We'll see. All this will be negotiated.
And another point that I said to Ben is because there's 14 houses that they put up on this thing that were awarded to people, that means that there's 14 houses that are going to need to do renovation, and there's no way that all 14 are going to get it done, in a timely fashion, because reconstruction, restoration always takes longer than you think, always. If they give you, say, 6 months, it's probably take a year,
So the question is going to be, is the game of the mayor's office that he wants to pick up the $2,000 and say, great, I got $2,000 and the house doesn't get done, and he reassigns it to somebody else? Or is he going to buy into our project and say, wow, these people can really bring good PR and they can do cool things for our community, and we sort of fudge? Whatever it's required, I'm used to working with governments, I'll do what it takes, and I believe there's a reasonable chance that I'll walk away from the 1-year commitment to 2 years or 3 years. So that's the first part. The second part, there was a question about what does it mean? What do we need to do? And this is critical. There are very specific parameters for renovation and reconstruction per the norms of historic reconstruction in the area. So I've put underneath, you see where it says 4 points, 0 points? This was one of the things you had to say. Are you willing to engage in the use of restoration techniques contained in the recovery manuals of the historic centers of Campania? So if you said no, you got 0 points. If you said yes, we got 4 points.
We got 4 points.
So obviously I said yes. Do we know what the recovery manual for the historic centers of Campania means? We have no idea. But so what? I mean, when we did Nicaragua, when you did Granada, same thing. We had to reconstruct per the norm, and that means the tiles have to be like this. You can't paint your house blue. You cannot have.
Had to have a certain amount that was courtyard. I mean, Adam, you saw what that house looked like when we bought it. It was falling apart.
True.
Falling apart.
So we've done this before several times. I'm not scared of this. That doesn't mean I know what we need to do. I just know that we'd have to adhere to the recovery manual of the historic centers of Campania. Obviously, we're going to need to do these, get these, read them, understand them, and see what exactly it means.
Yes.
So far, so good? Okay. The next one was Josh saying, is there a minimum investment needed? Or do we just need to turn it from uninhabitable to inhabitable? The answer is, I don't know. We don't know. So it may be enough to do 1 room, we don't know. So we'll find out. There's one of the projects that I read that says you have to invest $20,000 or $30,000. And whether that gets you completed or not. So all this is going to be part of this current $2,000 contract thing is going to be the contract that's going to spell everything out. So it's going to be very important to review the contract and understand what we're signing up to. And obviously part of my game will be, before we sign the contract, to engage with them to say, so for example, the 1 year thing isn't going to work. We need to stretch it to 2 years or 3 years. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Oren had a question about the link, the timeline between the $2,000 and the renovation. What I can say is that we have to, in order to, go ahead.
Seems like you've addressed it already. It's supposed to be 1 year, but we're going to push it to 3 years. And if it's 1 year, it's kind of dead already.
Correct, but I'm not thinking that we can't get out of it. And there was a related question about losing the deed. Yes, absolutely. The way it's run, we lose the deed if we cannot do what we said we were going to do. So
when are they expecting that $2,000 payment?
Well, okay, so the $2,000 payment, which is coinciding with a 3-month deadline from the day we're selected, which was about a week ago. We have 3 months to provide the money and sign the contract.
The 2,000.
The $2,000. So what is at risk here, and what the proposition on the table is that we put $2,000 on the table, knowing that we may lose that $2,000. But
$400 each.
If depending who wants to play. So if you all want to play and want to kick in $400 and everybody gets 20% ownership, then we all have $400 risk. And maybe at the end of this, within a year, we say, fuck it, it didn't happen, we weren't able to change the terms, et cetera, et cetera. Okay?
Gotcha.
Is there any way that we could contact somebody who's on the ground there locally that could get more detailed interior photographs? Because like, otherwise we're kind of making a blind investment, right?
Correct.
Yeah, agreed.
So I've already sent an email to the mayor's office saying, could we please get somebody from mayor's office to go inside and take pictures, etc. I believe the probability is about 5%, which is what I put here. My next move will be to find an architect in Melfi, pay the guy something to go in the house and take the pictures and do a layout of whatever's in there.
And then we're supposed to be in the US in November, so we will stop in Italy on our way to the US and go check it out. So that's in November.
Or before.
Oh.
Or before.
Cool.
So I've looked at the prices to go from Portland and Chicago and Sacramento to go to Naples, and they're all about between $1,000 and $1,200 round trip.
Oh.
And I've looked at the prices for us to go one way, and it's about $500. So.
Well, that changes depending on the time.
Of course, but I'm just saying. I want to address what Ezra said. Do we want pictures? Absolutely. Can we get pictures and a layout to understand just how bad things are before the $2,000? That is my intent, and that would be my next deliverable, which is, yep, I found somebody who can go in there, open the door, go in there, and take pictures and send us something.
We get there before the 3 months is up.
We have to.
Us.
Maybe.
And then we could see it, take pictures, and then decide.
Right, but the first step is, there's nobody we're going to get from the town. I don't believe the mayor's office is going to respond and say, yes, we're going to send this person in. I don't think that's going to happen. But I do believe that I can find an architect who we're going to spend a couple of $100 on to go inside and take pictures.
I have something.
Beyond the $400 investment, what other kind of longer term commitments are you looking for from people who participate? Like, are you wanting us to, as part of flying out there, to agree to put in a certain amount of time to rehabilitate it, or what?
So that'll be, great question. That's the next part when we talk about roles and responsibilities. I have mapped out my starter point, which can be completely thrown out the window, but I'd like to put out there for everybody to understand where I think your respective contributions are. And then you're going to decide whether you want to play or fuck it, you got other things to do in your life, right? But hold that thought. The bottom line is $400 entry point and some level of effort associated with your respective talents and ability to contribute. And if you look around the table, everybody has a set of capabilities that match perfectly to the project as I see it. So you'll have to decide whether you want to do that. So just bear with me for a few minutes. Okay?
Ben, can I come in real quick?
Yes.
I remember reading somewhere that the mayor would provide contacts for local contractors and people to be able to help, like locals, to employ, to be involved. I remember reading that somewhere, seeing that somewhere. I was doing a little bit of research on my own end. So I think there are some resources. I mean, they're obviously prepared for a bunch of foreigners to come in, and they're going to have construction needs and contractor needs and architect needs. And I think that there's a level of thing that they provide. So that could be good to look into what type of resources and how do we start to utilize those.
So I'd say I'm almost with you. They have a requirement to use local workers, right? And local
Right.
contractors. They haven't made the leap to say, and here's the list of the 5 contractors and the phone numbers and emails. So the requirement is there. Whether they will hold our hands and help us facilitate to find these people, I'm not sure.
Cool. That sounds about right.
Yep.
Keep going.
Guys,
Okay.
we have about 10 more minutes on this end. I don't know how much more time we need on the.
We'll keep going, and then you exit when you need to exit.
Yeah, you can always go back and look at the tape.
All right, so let's talk about the risks. This shows you, no, sorry guys, we'll do it as fast as we can, but so with regard to the timeline, this is the point system that I mentioned. If you said 3 years, you would get 1 point. If you said 1 year, you got 4 points. We got 4 points. Now we're gonna try to walk it through and say, okay, but we wanna do it in 3 years. Okay, so let's talk about the nature of the repair work. I assume the biggest headaches, and this is based on having done a lot of this kind of stuff. I assume plumbing is gonna be our biggest issue, although they seem to have community infrastructure, but the plumbing in the house, this is a 100-year-old or 200-year-old house, there's gonna be plumbing issues. There's gonna be roof issues. There's gonna be electricity issues. There's gonna be massive paperwork, red tape issues. And of course, there's gonna be what is typical, is the biggest unknown. And Oren, you know full well what that means in a real estate environment. The biggest problem is typically what you don't expect, what you just can't project. So what are we gonna find out? But just this, plumbing, roof, electricity, that's gonna be plenty difficult. I do assume that the structure is pretty robust because of the stones. Most of these houses have withstood 300-400 years when they're made in large stones. So, that should be okay, but that doesn't mean, of course, that it's gonna be ready to move in. Okay, so what's the biggest issue is not having the funds available to actually launch the restoration. That is the biggest issue, right? Because right now, we're just buying a seat at the table. I'm not going to devolve into my aerospace stuff. If the stuff that I hope happens, poof, we have the money. If it doesn't, well, shit, we've put $2,000 and we don't have the money to execute the build.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
So if we were just investing $400 each, let's say, into 20% ownership, and then we restore it, and there's another, let's say, $5,000, $20,000 in repair costs or whatever, one way to make that a worthwhile investment would be to turn this into something monetizable, like be able to rent it out like an Airbnb or something like that. So when we're not there, then it's still earning passive income that we can distribute.
Correct.
So I don't know. I just was wondering if you thought out any trajectory around.
So here we go. Let's fast forward to this because I feel that we're going to lose the team. Here's the way I see it. Let me just say that I'm not saying this has to be. I'm saying I'm putting the frisbee and I'm going to ask you all to just read this, think about it, and come back to me for next time. Let me just I'll go through it quickly. All right. Again, I'm not telling you this is the way it has to be. My gut feel tells me this. I can do overall turnkey project management from the concept to delivery, resource management, optimization, keep the team together, do the political interface, the mayors, the banks, all that shit. Ezra and Carissa, the way I see it is, given the marketing, the branding, the IT, the film, the graphic, and so on, I see you guys taking the project persona, which, by the way, I think could be marketed from the start. I don't know what that means exactly, but from graphic design, photos, drawings, videos, filmmaking, 3D printing, eventually when we start to think about what we want to do, archiving everything, the IT, the accounting.
For example, we may want to make a movie about this, like a documentary that could be used to showcase your filmmaking ability, and it could be a movie that raises funds or that generates interest. We don't know how it would be used, but it could be a really interesting project. All the personalities, the house, how we go about it, what obstacles we come up against, how we deal with them, and so on. Would be a really interesting movie.
Like all these projects, we're gonna go large, right? We're gonna go to the absurdly ridiculous, right? And then we'll scale it back. But why not? And the reason we're recording this is because this is the first recording of a project, right? If you guys buy in, and you guys, I mean Ezra, Carissa right now, think about that bucket. For example, as you've already seen, I suck at scheduling, right? We're gonna have IT issues. We're gonna have drawings falling around. We're gonna have photos, archives. We're gonna need to take video.
Someone's gonna have to.
All this has to be sort of brought under a bucket. And I'm thinking that you guys would be great for this. You don't have to respond yet. Let me just keep going to the other ones before I lose you. Number 2, Adam, we're gonna need an agro-farmer interface. The whole community is farmers. We're gonna need to become insiders. I want to know everything there is to know about hazelnut, chestnut, cherries, black truffle, and all that shit, right? I don't know anything about this, but it's the lifeblood of the community. We need to interface. What does it mean? Right? For example, imagine we have the house. You know that Joe down the street is 74 years old and he's got 43 hectares of chestnuts. Do we care? Do we want to buy things on the cheap? I mean, we may have huge opportunities by just being on the ground.
We could just have one big, when there's only one big room, maybe we could do a food event that people come to and it's part of the fundraising.
You guys are like looking like really far down in the future. Is this like once we have the house and like it kind of sounds a little like
sounds like a full-time job, you guys.
That's I am throwing to you the end state, whether something starts when the house is built, whether we need to get start. I'm just giving you the vision.
Ideas.
What I'm giving you right now is our vision of how big this can be. We'll scale it back based on reality. Right? We don't need next week, Adam, for you to go talk to the chestnut farmer. I'm just saying if we have a house in an area which is all about chestnut, hazelnut, black truffles, and so on, what does it mean? It is not just a house. It's a house and it's a European headquarters.
It's an opportunity.
Yeah. Don't we first need to figure out how to make the house a house?
Yes.
We need to do both. We need to wrap our head around what is the end state. And then reality will set in and we'll go in. But only if we agree with the end state, can we sort of be motivated to work hard toward making it happen.
No end state. There's never an end state. That's like not a realistic proposition.
As I said, what I want to do right now is I want to throw the frisbee as big and wide. It's like the same thing as saying, hey, what do you mean you're talking about making a movie? Why not? Why not turn this into a documentary? Why not? Okay. Number 3, real estate build and profile. Oren, I'm looking at you guys, Oren and Jess. There will be all sorts of issues having to do with the construction project, budgets, adherence to local restoration rules, future marketing through Airbnb, et cetera, right? And we'll need Italian for that. I don't remember, Jess, how your Italian is. Are you fluent enough, or what's your Italian language?
Well, I'm not
fluent enough. I've been there just once.
I didn't hear that.
But I can't hold a conversation.
Okay, so for example, Oren, if you are good to sort of get your head around the restoration part, reading through the Italian language, oh, these are the norms we need to do, that would be part of what we need you guys to help the team with.
Do I need to speak Italian?
What?
My Italian's not so strong.
Well, talk to your girlfriend.
My Italian's not so strong.
Well, then we'll go to then you contract Anna to help you with it. Okay, next one. Event management.
Or they moved to, they moved.
So Josh, think of this as a music festival destination Europe. There's a long history of this in France, in Spain, in Italy, and so on. Every town that reaches a certain level starts during the summer, particularly, to hold different kind of events. Why not make this a euphonic conception destination for events? And I'm not even talking about the other part of your business, as there's also something interesting there. Okay.
Hells yeah.
Hells yeah.
Hells yeah.
So I see Pete with the final design authority, just like we did for other stuff, for our other projects, other houses in Nicaragua. For those of you who were close enough both to ethnicities and CO2 bamboo, you remember that Pete's role was always headhunting. Like, for example, I would go to her and say, now I need an Italian, ideally, architect. And then poof, she would magically surface an Italian architect. That's going to be the same kind of a deal for me. Besides that, there is part of the pitch that we wrote in the brief was that this was going to become a yoga destination. This is one of the things we pointed there. Do they give a shit? Are they going to not let us have the house if it doesn't become a yoga destination? I don't know. I just know it's a big market, and it's one of the things I want to throw out there as a frisbee.
Yeah, but as we get things rolling, maybe the rooftop will be like a place to do yoga, and I'll bring yoga teachers in, and they can do retreats there and stuff like that.
All right, and final point, fundraising initiative. What is very clear is that I wish we were in a situation where we could say, we won the KC-130 aircraft deal and we got plenty of money and here's $100,000 for the house. We don't have that. So we'll have to, this is a game about buying a seat at the table and seeing whether we can organize the funding in the next year to 3 years in order to make this a reality. But I would like to put our collective thoughts behind fundraising. What kind of grants are out there? What kind of future Airbnb pre-sale? I have no idea. Everybody gets a chance to think about how to make this a reality. Okay, it's 10:03. It's been an hour. If you guys can hang tight 5 more minutes, we can wrap it up. So what I'd like you to do is, well, I want to do a first sanity check. You now know what I know. Right? Lots of risks, interesting opportunity, nothing is clear. I would like to know who's in and who's already ready to say, fuck it, I've got other shit to do. For the 400 and for the next get together on these kinds of phone calls and so on. It takes time and it takes energy and it takes dedication. So I'd like to go around. Let's start with on the right side. Josh and Anna.
We're in, 100%. Mark us down, check the box, dot the T's and the lower, cross the T's, dot the lowercase J's.
Definitely in for the initial $400 investment and in for ongoing calls as well.
Awesome. Oren and Jess.
You got it.
I think you said it well. Lots of risk and a lot of unknowns. So I'd like to understand a little more, but
we don't like to quit. We would like to not quit yet. Not yet.
I'm not ready to say quit, but need more information, and I don't know how much my real estate Chicago background is going to translate into construction project in Italian, but it's.
I can totally.
What are the specific details that you need first?
So, the thing about the to go with the roles of the place is all about reading. That is not a big issue. My biggest concern is the financing, like where we're gonna find the funds.
Right.
Agreed.
Totally agree.
So what we don't know until we go inside is if we're looking at a $30,000 proposition or a $200,000 proposition. If it's 200,000, I'm out. I'm not interested. If it's less than 100,000, I compare it to the houses that we've done in Granada, and okay, I don't have it today, but in the next 2 years, do I think I can get 100,000 to have a European headquarters? Absolutely. So yeah. I'm giving you Oren and Jess as in, yes, pending more information with the option to opt out if you don't like what you see.
How does that affect the equity situation? If we all put up $400 up front and then Ben pours in $100,000,
that's okay. That's all I'm asking right now is interest and energy to get it started. What you're buying with your $400 is the equity situation. This is going to be our project. We're going to fund it. We're going to fund it either by ourselves, or we're not because we're not going to have the money, or we're going to collectively come up with other sources of money. So the $400 is if it gets you 20% as we stand right now. We may need to bring in some investors, and all of us need to be diluted from 20 to 10% because we needed to give some money to somebody who popped in $40,000. That could happen too.
Really?
Are we investing in this property also? Is it for resale or for us?
For us. I see this as a family European headquarters for you down to your grandchildren, right? I mean, this is a collective long-term. I think it'll take probably realistically 2 years to get off the ground. And I see it more, not just as a building, but as a project, which will have, who knows? Will it be Josh type of events? Will it be Peter kind of yoga destination? Will it be Adam restaurant or purchase of cherries to be canned and sold on the US market? I have no idea. What will Ezra and Carissa come up with and say, oh my God, it's obviously this? I have no
What's
idea.
that movie festival thing that we want to enter?
Telluride.
Telluride. Make a movie for Telluride.
Yeah, right. Is it a Carissa documentary that hits Hollywood and wins the Academy Awards? Okay, all right. So Oren and Jess, I got you. You are skeptical, but still want to keep playing until you see more details of what's inside.
I'll take that then.
Okay, Adam, where are you at?
Yeah, I'm definitely in for $400.
Okay, and level of effort?
Thoughts?
Level of effort, I don't really know. Yeah, it's kind of hard to understand like what the effort even is at this point yet. Like,
well, I can tell you what it
the
is.
farming thing is probably.
I can tell you what the effort is. The effort is being willing to sit down and have this hour. This took an hour plus a few emails back and forth, and to do this probably every 2-3 weeks between now and the time when we're the $2,000 in. In other words, this was pretty easy to get everybody around the table for this phone call. But of course, as time goes by, you're going to lose momentum, not be so excited, or be more excited. So right now it's $400 plus time to have these conversations until we coalesce toward a vision.
Yeah, definitely have these conversations as they're needed for sure.
Okay.
Okay, you're in. Adam, Ezra, and Carissa.
So yeah, obviously we haven't had a chance to talk about it yet. But my first feelings were that, similar to Oren and Jess, it just seems important to see the interior and also to have an estimate from people outside of the government. So if you could not only just go there and take photos yourself, but actually do hire an architect from outside the town to come in and kind of assess it as a third party, I feel like that'd be a more objective source of information. And then also just if you guys can get there, you can like walk around and just feel out the vibe of the city. Like, one thing I noticed looking at the website is that there were no people in any of the photographs that I saw. I thought that was kind of weird. So it's like, is this a ghost town? Like, it'd be good to know the vibe before investing, like, even if it's a gorgeous house and it can be restored for 30 grand or whatever, it's still like, well, what's the greater?
Don't forget that in Italy, same in Vietnam, in the middle of the day is siesta. So maybe it was filmed, at 12 o'clock when everybody's inside having their rest from the heat.
But I've gone through enough of these towns in France, Spain, and Portugal to tell you, yes, it is a town that the population is diminishing. They need energy, which is why they're doing the project. So it's not a ghost town in this, and you know that because there's a coffee shop, right?
It's sleepy. I've been in this kind of Italian town. I've stayed in one where there was one coffee shop, there was one local prostitute, and there was one bread thing that came from another village to bring bread. And every day we took our car and we went to a nearby village, spent the day there, bought food, came home and cooked dinner at home at night. Because the actual town will be very sleepy and quiet. It's not going to.
How long did you stay there?
It was in this town, baby.
Oh, it was another one?
Yeah, so much.
Repeat?
Nothing.
I thought you guys stayed there, so you've never actually been physically there in this town.
No, never been
Not
there.
to this location. We were supposed to go, but we came to Vietnam instead. That's where we had 3. So we're interested in this area because it's warmer, cheaper, and like more old-fashioned.
But I want to address Ezra's point. Yes, it is a sleepy village. This is not going to be the cool driving town. The place with energy is going to be Melfi, which is 25 minutes away. And then of course the big cities.
So
We definitely also to see, to check what is the interest of people to staying there, even though it's close to such a cool areas. I don't know if people would stay there or they would prefer pay a little more and stay closer to where everything is going on.
Correct, which is why I'm not suggesting that the motivation is the business angle. I'm suggesting this is first and foremost a family project and destination, and then on top of that, we'll see what happens. And it's obviously way too early to tell. Will they be interested in Airbnb? Well, depends what we create, right?
Right. But I think the main thing is that we're buying for the family, but we're also buying to have a certain type of return on the investment, because it's not as.
I'm not. I want to be really clear about this. I'm not interested in the resale value. And while I want to obviously take advantage of any opportunity for income, which may be the real estate, but it may be the buying cherries and selling cherries. We don't know yet. But the main motivation, this is not a real estate, let's create passive income. This will help us if there is demand. And we don't know that.
Okay, let's say we rehab it and then everything is good to go. We're going to have a bunch of costs to cover at the house. And it would be interesting to know if we can get any income from the house so it can cover all those costs.
So that's under the breakdown where.
So that's where you guys are right here. Correct.
We look at these towns. We'll see if there's an Airbnb going, and if there is, we'll see what they're charging and what it looks like.
Yeah, but that's why I'm saying that it's important to know what is the service looking like there.
Correct. But what I'm trying to communicate is that these issues of what's the agro future, what's the real estate future, none of this we're going to solve before we have to put the $2,000 down, which is why there's a risk, right? The only thing we can do before we put the $2,000 down is get the layout, take the pictures, and maybe get an estimate of how much it will cost to deal with the big stuff, the roof and the plumbing. I think that's the best scenario that we can get to.
I don't think that can be a maybe. I think we need that firmly.
Fine, but we can't get to a firm estimate until we have a design, and we can't get a design until we do a whole lot of storming among ourselves.
Surely there's some without the design, you know, the structure, the structural,
exactly,
utilities, all that kind of stuff that regardless of what we put in are going to be the same.
Okay, so we're all in agreement here. Let me just then quickly, before we finish with this, here are the current list of action items. Number one, try to get photos from a local contractor. I've explained I've already started that. Get the norms for the Campania region historic restoration to see how ugly that is. Number three, find a Melfi area architect or US architect friend who happens to be traveling in Italy or who knows what, right? Number four, get preliminary quotes for the heavy works, the roof repair, the plumbing, the electricity. And then try to visit as soon as possible to start the visioning process. That's what I understand to be, we need to do A, B, C through E before we plop down the $2,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you could do a similar thing like this, and it doesn't need to be as text heavy, but just like the photos, the numbers, and then a general plan. I like the idea of having passive income at this place because we're probably not going to be living there, and it'd be a shame to just have it empty. So I think some sort of compromise, even if it's not like, hey, we're renovating it in order to immediately flip it, but maybe more like, no, we're going to do Airbnb or something where you can drive traffic through it.
Right, there could be three things as I see it in terms of that: Airbnb, home exchange, where we use it for home exchange and then we can all use the home exchange for other homes, and as a yoga destination. So if it was finished and so on, a yoga teacher comes with 10 people, they all get a room or whatever, and they have to pay to rent out the building to use it. Or it could be anything like that, any groups. It could be a group of artists.
Anything about the layout, like how many hypothetical bedrooms or areas of plumbing there are for bathrooms?
We have no idea. That'll be part of the visioning, one of the things that what I'm gonna ask you to do is I'm gonna send, after this is done, I'm gonna send this whole document. I'd like you to take the time to read it again more quietly. I'd like you to think about the roles and responsibilities and see if you buy into my view of the world or change it however you want, right? Come back and say, I don't wanna do this, but I'd like to do that, right? And then wouldn't it be cool if it had this? Right? I'm pretty sure that all of us are going to have different things. So start sending or at least write these down for next conversation so that we see where we converge. Is it about we need to have 5 bedrooms or is it sufficient if we have 3 bedrooms? Do we need a yoga deck or we don't need a yoga deck? Do we need a swimming pool? Obviously not. But you know what I'm saying?
All of this, isn't the first next step just like to take those like little steps that we talked about and then like kind of just like, and then let's just reconvene once we have like a little bit more information before we kind of go so overboard into like all the amenities that the house is going to have? Like,
yeah, of course.
Well, hang on. Let me remind you that when we bought the house, that was a decrepit house, nothing in Granada. By the time we landed with the plane, Adam, you had already designed the 2 or 3 things that you wanted in the house. It's part of the visioning process to throw the frisbee far and to say, hey, this is what I'm thinking I'd like to do.
So we did it with that house. Then we did it with the bamboo house in Granada as well, which was just a little concrete shell that we built the bamboo house above. And then in Sri Lanka, remember, we got a house that had no plumbing, no electricity, no kitchen, no bathroom. We had never been in Sri Lanka, knew nothing about it, couldn't speak the language, but we did it.
yeah, I know. But I'm just saying, like, I guess we knew how much roughly it was going to cost to do, and we knew that we like had a budget for that. Where I feel like we're not really at the same spot right now.
Correct. So I have my action item to first get in the house. So that's my main thing I'm going to deliver for our next conversation and see if I can do that. Okay. Let me, because it's 10:15 and say again.
Until that happens, you want us to all do things before that happens, or?
I want you to just read this, spend your time on the internet to go see, get excited, not get excited, get scared, not get scared, whatever. And then I'll flag when I have something new to share, which I'm expecting is going to be 2 to 3 weeks from now. Okay, so let's, any other closing thoughts here, folks?
It was a very good presentation, Ben. Congrats on the, and please forward to us the document.
Grazie, mille grazie.
And we'll do some of the comparison work on the Airbnbs in the area and see what people are bringing in.
That would be very interesting. And
I'd like to know what's there.
Extend it to Melfi, please.
Okay.
I can get in touch with some Italian friends and see if they know any architects in southern Italy.
That would be great.
And even if it's not an architect, if you could find somebody who we could send to the, who is this? This is a cat, somebody's cat.
That's Luna, because you were saying our animals, so that's Luna.
Oh.
So Anna, if you could find somebody in Italy that we could send to the mayor's office, get the keys, go and take photos, that would be a huge win. That would be a huge win.
Yeah, okay. Well, unfortunately, I don't know that many people in the South, but I'll see what I can figure out.
Yeah, and I'll do the same, and I'll look for things. So I'm just open. It's a, you know, I go back to Ezra's, what do you call those? The coincidence stuff that happens, the synchronicities. The amount of synchronicities since we started this has been insane, right?
Yeah, I think just the fact that we were chosen, I feel like that's an omen in and of itself, and this is just an incredible opportunity. Yeah. So regardless of the actual financial return, so to speak, the actual cost of doing something at this type of potentially super discounted rate, and just the opportunity, I think, of having this as like a jump off point and a home base for European activities is something super beneficial and valuable in and of itself. So I like the idea of that. And yeah, let me know. I mean, I feel like I'm feeling pretty gung ho. So I'm down to put in some time in terms of trying to do some of the day-to-day stuff as well, Ben, if that's some if you need some support.
Great.
Fantastic. Awesome. I think you're absolutely right. It's an amazing opportunity to have a base in Europe.
All right.
Yeah.
Any other closing comments, Ezra?
To say I'll help you with the scheduling thing so we can make it easier next time.
I would love, if you're willing to do this, starting today, just let me show you a specific case. I'm going to send you a recording of this video, right? It's like 400 megabytes. I have no idea where to store this. I know that Zoom eliminates it after a while, so I need to be able to send it to you.
So you can
And if you can find some way of storing it, that would be awesome.
Put it in Google Drive. Do you have an account?
Yeah, we should just start a drive with.
Yeah.
Sure.
So Ezra, that goes into the bucket of this is the kind of shit I would love you to take on. I would love to be able to organize this conversation and manage that, and then throw this at you and say, please deal with it.
So you are covered.
Yep, I can help.
Awesome. Good meeting,
Okay,
guys.
everybody. Any other comments, or are we done?
Thanks, guys. Mom and Ben, if you guys want to stay on, we'll talk to you for a little bit.
Great.
So I'm going to turn off this conversation, and I'm going to send you another Zoom invite in 1 minute,
Oh, wait,
Josh.
Okay.
there's Ninja.
There's Ninja. Hey, Ninja.
Oh, beautiful. Anyway, I just want to tell you, thank you all. I love you all, and it was great to see you all.
And it's nice, Carissa. Welcome to the fam.
Oh, thank you.
Bye,
Nice to meet you.
Nice to see you guys.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
How
Have a great rest of your night.
Have a great Sunday evening.
Okay, Josh, I'm going to send you a new Zoom invite
Yeah.
in 2 seconds.
Bye,
Bye, everybody.
Okay. Guys,
Yeah.
buonanotte.
Buonanotte. Arrivederci.
Oh, see you in September. See you in September, Chicago peeps.
September.
Oh, nice. Confirmed?
Yeah, we're coming for Rosh
Rosh
Hashanah.
Hashanah. Shana
you're going
Tova.
to Chicago.
Yeah, we just confirmed today.
Nice. Nice.
Hey,
Okay.
Fergie.
Where's Thurgood? Oh, there, bring Thurgood so I can see Thurgood.
Well, Adam has to talk.
Adam, speak.
Hey. Okay.
I want to
See
see
you
him.
now?
Oh.
No. Okay, goodbye.